Well, so for me, it's like, we want to do the science. I mean, the number one thing that's always driven what we do is doing good science, irregardless of the need. In other words, I think discovering things and inventing sort of broad conceptual things, what I'll call platforms that can be applied to a lot of things, that's kind of what we've done. And we haven't, when we sometimes started these things, known exactly what the application would be. But certainly it was in my mind that there's the potential for a lot of applications. So that's sort of the first step. The patent seems to me, if you're doing something in a lot of areas, particularly the medical area, you need a huge investment of money to get it out to the world. And investors or companies aren't going to give you a huge amount of money unless they feel protected, unless you have a patent. So certainly in the biotech space, without intellectual property, it's very, very hard to raise money. And so I would see that we could raise that money from these patents, get a company started, and that would enable us to get these technologies manufactured, developed, and produced. Now, how do you figure out the right application? I mean, that to me sometimes is a big challenge, and it's a team effort. So we often don't know what the right application is at the beginning. So, we brainstorm a lot. Sometimes we talk to different people who are specialists in different areas. Sometimes there's consulting companies that we work with that help us try to figure it out. But you can apply them to many things. And I should say a lot of times, some of the initial things that we've thought about may turn out to be wrong. But it doesn't matter. Sometimes you'll work out a lot of the bugs on that, and you'll figure out the manufacturing processes, and you'll learn a lot, and then you can apply that to other things. Now, that's not the only way we work. Sometimes people have come to us with specific problems, and when they do, and if those problems we feel are important, then we do something that's more directed. But I'd say more often than not, we do something that doesn't have a specific application, and then we try to figure out the market later. But we feel that what we've done is really good science, and that's what we want to do as an academic unit. Well, to evaluate whether it's great science, I mean, I guess that's a judgment call, right? First there's the idea, and then there's how you do the experiments. I would say one way to do it, not that I necessarily want to have an outside validation, but if I were looking and I didn't know the area, what I might look at is the quality of journal that they published it in. So one of the things that we've done a lot is publish things in journals like Science or Nature, that are very hard journals to get into and are often critically reviewed. That doesn't mean they're right, but that's a starting point, if somebody's published something in a good journal. I mean, so I think that might be a first step to looking at whether you've done the first thing. And then maybe there's additional papers, and you can look at the quality of those papers and the quality of the science. I think there are a couple different things. First, when do we make a decision to spin it out? I like to think that I think we want to advance it to a reasonable degree. Like we've published a paper, we've filed for a patent. If we're doing something in medicine that we've shown it works in an animal. And if we've done a lot of those things, what happens, I think, in the lab is, since we have spun out a lot of companies, and a lot of the students here have seen older students or earlier students spin out companies with me, then it just kind of happens because they see that others have done it, and they might ask me, well, can I do it? Or can they do it? And if we've developed these things far enough, and then I might introduce them to some people who are venture capitalists, and then we go from there. I think diversity of viewpoints is useful to the process that we use. I think you want to make some distinctions. First, there's what you do in the lab. I think what we do in the lab, because we often want to take our ideas pretty far along in terms of proving them in an animal or sometimes a person, that takes, they're having people with different skills, including medical doctors, that makes a difference. I think at a company, the diversity is going to be far greater. And I think if you really want to get a product out, you need a company for the most part. I mean, we might provide the nucleus for that company, but the company, of course, will have business people, financial people, manufacturing people, all kinds of different people. And I think you need that diversity if you're going to get a product out.